Welcome back, everybody. The RP Show is brought to you in part by Cool Bet. Claim your welcome bet bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Canadian viewers only. Sorry about that. Jim Barker joining us, five-time Grey Cup champion, veteran coach. Hey, Coach, good to see you. Can we start with the Bill Belichick thing? You see, though, he's up to his ass in alligators there in Chapel Hill, and they're wondering whether he's going to be back next year. Would you vote? Is he back next year or not?
Absolutely not. He's not going to be there for, again, I think he could end up in Miami very soon. And Stephen Ross is a guy who, he hired Mike McDaniel, who was, that was a shot in the dark. You're taking a different kind of guy. We talked about it, quirky guy. And, they need a complete culture change there. I think they know that. And a few more losses. They play San Diego this week, who has no running backs left after they've lost Marion Hampton and my long shot pick. It's just typical, but Miami could happen very quickly, and it's buying out this contract for him on his end. It's $1 million, and it's not a huge deal for him to get to where he's comfortable. College football is a totally different deal. It's one thing coaching a 19-year-old who's just brand new to your program and coaching a guy who's maybe played 2 or 3, 4 years in the NFL and now trying to acclimate him to your program. Coaching college football is a completely different kettle of fish. He'll spend time developing players right now, and a lot of those guys are going to jump in the portal and go somewhere they have a chance to make a bowl game and win. It's going to be difficult for him to sit in the living room of a 16-year-old and whose parents are probably sitting there and say, I'm going to be here. I want to be here. And believe him. I mean, you're talking about a guy who left 2 days after or a day after he took the Jets job. Again, he's about Bill Belichick, as he has the right to be. And I'd be shocked if he's there much longer. He does not like being embarrassed. And I agree. He's doing it not for the money, but for the love of coaching. And it's no fun going through what he's going through now.
You were watching that long ago. I appreciate it, Coach. Well, let me ask you this. Are you the guy like me that believes the team takes on the personality of its coach? I don't care the sport, the level. I really believe that. Look what's going on in New England with Mike Vrabel. Here in Miami, it's probably true the other way. Quirky and odd. That's what the Dolphins are under Mike McDaniel. Do you agree with that phrase?
Absolutely. I think there's no doubt that teams take on the personality. I saw it with Don Matthews when I first came into professional football. I had 1 year with a guy named Bob Price in his first year as a head coach, and then I went with Don. And I was with Don for the next few years, and there's no question that they take on the personality of the coach. And that's what Bill Belichick brings, at least, is he brings a steadiness and a direction, and we're going to do it my way, or I'm going to go find guys who will. You can't do that in college football. So, again, I just believe he's on his way. He won't end up in Dallas with somebody who's opinionated like Jerry Jones, but Miami with Stephen Ross, that's a perfect setup for Bill. So that would be my. And I've also hired. Remember, they've hired Bill Parcells. They've gone down this path before. So again, I think it's sooner rather than later. A bye week when you're as bad as this team is, and you go and you spend a week in Nantucket with your 24-year-old girlfriend, tells me, you know what, just we're going to put up with this until I get what I want, and then we're going to Miami, and you can lay in the sun, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, he's checked out, is what you're saying. Okay, so we just morphed college and NFL very nicely. You are the guest. This is your segment. So going into the weekend, where is your football focus? Wherever you want to go next.
Well, football focus, again, and I thought the thing you were talking about, the CFL, was very interesting about has it lost the luster? And, it's tough because a lot of these teams don't even have beat writers anymore. I know there's no newspapers, but all you get on the internet are things from their team. So it's, it gets hard reading that stuff. You're not getting Frank Ziccarelli was here, Perry Lefko, guys like that they would go in and they would criticize you. In Calgary, we had Mike Petrie, who, he was gonna rip you. In Saskatchewan, you got Daryl Davis and you had Murray McCormick, and they're gonna call you on things. That doesn't happen anymore. There just
Nope.
isn't any of that. It's like we talked about. Saskatchewan's the best team in the league. Ottawa's the worst team in the league. And now, if you take out Ottawa and Toronto, who aren't going to make the playoffs, and put the rest of them in, you could throw all the names into a hat and pull out, and any one of them is going to have a chance to win. I'm not sure that's great. And I think you're seeing a little bit of that in the NFL. All the teams are 4-1. All teams have a loss. There's no dominant team. What are the Chiefs? Are they dominant? They got the Lions coming in this week. Okay, that to me is the game of the week, bar none, is the Lions going in and playing the Chiefs. I know the 49ers in Tampa Bay, both 4-1, both great, both Baker Mayfield winning games at the end and San Francisco winning with Mac Jones. But the Lions, who physically I believe are the best team in the league, lost to the Packers early, go into Kansas City, who's 2-3 and has to win. That game's going to tell you a lot about what are those teams going to be for the season. So that's the game in the NFL that I'm most excited about. In college football, I know none of your people are going to talk about this, but I love Oregon versus Indiana. You have two Heisman Trophy winners, and I'll bet none of your listeners know their names. Do you?
No,
Okay.
not at all.
Oregon is Dante Moore, and Indiana is it's Fernando Mendoza, and they're both.
I've heard that
They're
one.
climbing fast on the radar of being Heisman Trophy candidates. So that's an interesting game to me. Both teams undefeated. Again, Penn State, I loved watching what happened to them. And I'm a USC guy, so watching UCLA do anything good, but watching UCLA dismantle James Franklin and hit that excuse making, and it's Penn State has never done anything, and they just, I don't know, it just they claim to be stuff they aren't. Which brings us to the Blue Jays. I mean, I'm going all over. I got so many things I wanted. What are they doing in the locker room? And I'm telling you, both teams, both them. Okay, I live in Toronto. I can walk to the stadium in 10 minutes. I'm trying hard to be a Toronto Blue Jay fan. Grew up, a lifelong Dodger fan. So I watch the Blue Jays go, and they win, and they beat. They win it in 4 games against the Yankees. That's great. It's a Yankee team that I think was not as good as what their record said, like the other Jim talked about, earlier about how they barely beat the White Sox and they lost to the White Sox. Anyway, they won that. Now you're going to go in the locker room and pop off to the Yankees. Then you got the Dodgers come in and beat the Phillies. Now, do you think you're going to hear Mookie Betts say one word about Bryce Harper or about Schwarber or about the Phillies organization? Not a word. And to me, that's the problem I have with the Blue. How do you cheer for a team like that has, you got to know how to win. You got to act like this is where we expected to be. It's great we won. You watch the Dodgers, they had handshakes and they jumped around and they probably did a little champagne in the locker room maybe, but nothing like what came out of Toronto. So again, that was a little disheartening for me because I really do want to be able to be a Blue Jays fan if they play the Dodgers in the World Series, which, again, I'm not sure that's going to happen. But
we want that. We want that, right? You and I want that. Dodgers,
yeah,
Blue Jays.
I'd like it.
Yeah,
I'd like it.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're making it hard for me to ever root for them.
I know. Well, hey, so I want to tell you a story that
CFL.
That's where I was going, but hang on.
Okay, good.
Our producer, Corey's never heard this story, and I know I haven't told you this. It was with our last production team. We air all over the States. You know that. And some guy wrote into the show. He's like, was an executive producer of a show in blah, 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 major market U.S., and here's my take of your show. It's got ADD. It's all over the place. Your host is annoying. Or your host is arrogant, and your sound effects are annoying. I'm like, yeah, thanks. We're all those things. That's exactly what we want. Annoying, arrogant, and ADD. And you just covered all those things in 5 minutes. That's exactly what I wanted. That's what this show is. That's why it's growing so much. Yeah, you don't see it anywhere else. So, anyways, to the CFL. Yeah, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I wait all week. I get 20 minutes a week now to spew my guts about things that bug me in sports, and I get to do it on this show.
It's amazing.
So,
it's fantastic.
Again, wrong.
Right. So, believe it or not, there's a focus here, and it has to do with the CFL. So I'm sitting there looking at the standings, and I see Winnipeg is in, I believe, 4th, and they go into Edmonton Saturday, and if Edmonton loses, Edmonton's done. Winnipeg clinches if they win. Jim, the fans are going to say, you've seen it, you've been in this league forever. They probably want to finish 4th. That's the easier path to go through the crossover, to get into the Grey Cup in your own park. Can you explain that teams don't think of it that way, please?
Never. You never go into a game and try, even if it's like not starting a guy and try to lose it so that you can cross over. I mean, 0 crossover teams have ever made it to the Grey Cup. 0. So it's a much more difficult to travel, and then to travel, you have to travel 2 weeks in a row and play a rested team. It's difficult. So I don't think that's the case at all. I think they're battling, and right now, you got Saskatchewan and Toronto tonight, and Saskatchewan wins, and they're going to clinch the division championship. And with 2 games to play, they can only get caught by what we talked about, the Calgary game. Calgary beating BC last week would have given them a chance to tie Saskatchewan. If Saskatchewan wins tonight, it's over. BC can only get 11 wins, and Saskatchewan would have 12. They're playing a Toronto team, and I got to ask you this question. You're a media guy, okay? And I'm not. I'm a football guy. I'm not a media guy. But when a team says they've shut down a player, what does that mean? In your view? No, what do you think that means?
He's not going to play again.
Okay, by shutting him down, is it because do you have in your mind, he must be hurt, or like you got Drew Brown in Ottawa being shut down? Okay, now he's making 400 plus, 450 plus a year, and he's being shut down the last 2 games
because he's had injury issues. We don't know what his injury status is because we're not in that locker room. The way I look, that I'm not a typical media guy. I actually talk to the coaches and the players privately, but there's nothing to play for, so why play them? I don't know. I don't have an issue. They're out, and the guy's had an injury history, so it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. I mean, Wynton McManus is being shut down because of a sore groin. Does that mean if they were playing for the playoffs that they would be playing?
Yeah.
If they were still they would be playing.
Don't you think?
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's wrong in games like this. And so Toronto's shutting down Wynton McManus, bad groin or whatever. And, their roster, and TSN doesn't talk about roster management anymore since haven't been on there, because that's kind of the stuff I like. Their roster, they're dressing 2 long snappers that have done nothing but long snap. Now, what that tells me is their Canadian talent is injured, can't play, which is going to affect them on special teams greatly. So, they're going into a game in Saskatchewan that I guarantee you the BC Lions, they don't want them shutting anybody down. They want them playing hard and make it go as long as possible. But they're going in there, and again, anytime a team dresses 2 long snappers, to me, it says we don't have enough players to dress to compete with this team. And then they'll be playing Daggy, his start at quarterback, and if he has a couple bad series, they'll bring Max Duggan in, who I'm actually excited to see. But it's like preseason football. And Saskatchewan should win this game handily. Will they win by 10? I don't know. I mean, the Hamilton-Calgary game's a much different story. Hamilton needs to win because Montreal is playing Ottawa the next 2 weeks, and they're right on their ass. They are right behind them. Now, Hamilton has the tiebreaker on them. So Hamilton right now has 10 wins, and Montreal, I believe, is at 8 or 9. So They're right there, and if they end up tied, Hamilton wins. They have to finish a full game ahead. So Montreal's pretty much got to win out. They got Ottawa twice. I'm not even sure who they have in the last week. So again, I think that game has a lot of intrigue. Calgary, 4 losses in a row, and it's played badly. And Vernon Adams has all of a sudden lost it. Their offensive line can't protect him. They're not running the ball well. Their defense has become a sieve. Again, this is a game Hamilton should win at home. They need it. Calgary is on the downward slide. If any team crosses over, I would think it's going to be Calgary. Not if, but I think the team that's going to cross over will be them. Because I like Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg is playing better now when they get Zach back and they have everything.
Of course. By the way, your brother John writes in and he says, all over the place is what I love here about this show. Well, by the
He's
way,
got
Jim,
me as a brother. He's grown up
Right.
with all over the place.
What I said to the executive producer, by the way, that wrote in, I said, if you were any good at this business, you'd still be working in a major market. So leave us alone. And he never came back. I have a bit of a problem with my mouth, as you probably realize. That's why I'm sitting here working for myself. But anyways, the Edmonton, they all want to know if the Elks have a chance to beat the Bombers. And of course they have a chance. They're in the game, period. But you could address that, or I would like to know why you think no team has ever won the crossover. I mean, it's nice to qualify, but no team's ever done it. Why is that?
Well, I think it's a drain. You're talking about flying across the country. So they would be playing, let's just say Montreal finishes second. They would be playing a Montreal team that is different now that they have all their players back in Davis Alexander. That will be at home. And so they fly across the country, which is a draining one. Then they play Montreal. That'll be a hard-hitting, physical game. They then either decide to stay here for the week to go in to play Hamilton, or they fly home and then fly back to play a Hamilton team that has now had a week off, has been rested, has watched everything you're doing. It's just a difficult thing to do. I mean, I remember the BC Lions coming in and playing Montreal, and they were playing pretty well at the time, and they crossed over and they lost by 50. It's just a tough going across the country. I think people don't understand it's either going east to west or west to east. It's not an easy thing to do. We played Edmonton one year in 2012 when we won it. Edmonton was our semifinal game, and again it was like, I don't know, 35 to 10. It was not even a ball game. They were tired. They just didn't look right. And again, they're finishing fourth for a reason. So that's why I think it's never happened. And again, I think Winnipeg in Edmonton is a great game. Edmonton certainly can win, but I think Winnipeg at their best needs to show they can win this game.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I mean, there's been a lot of teams that have crossed over. As we say, they never have won, a variety of reasons. You're playing a better team, as you say, the travel, all those. It's a hell of a story. And we'll see. I think for Winnipeg, that is, I don't know what they would want. I guess we'll find. They want to win. They want to win. I think they want to play within their own division. Jim, this has been fantastic. Awesome job as always. Enjoy the games. We'll see you in a week.
All right, Rod. See you next week. I'll get up all my things.
Okay, thank you so much. Jim Barker joining us, 5-time Grey Cup champ. Not a media guy. He's a football guy. I'm not a football guy. I'm a media guy. Be right back after this.